On that silent morning, no one imagined that the millionaire's wedding would end before it even began. The mansion door opened with a dry crack, and all the guests turned around at the desperate sob that cut through the air like a knife. The little girl, his daughter, appeared clinging to the maid, trembling as if fleeing a living nightmare. But what truly froze the room was the phrase the child whispered between sobs, pointing directly at the flawless bride at the altar. "Don't leave me with her, please." The millionaire paled. The bride recoiled. And in that instant, the whole story turned upside down, revealing secrets no one ever imagined existed. Before we delve into this amazing story, tell me which city and state you're watching from. Leave a comment and I'll reply with gratitude. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications and like this video. We want to share more stories like this. The silence of that mansion seemed to be crying out for help long before the wedding began, but no one noticed. Everyone was too busy arranging flowers, setting gleaming silverware on the tables, and commenting on the bride's flawless beauty, who descended the stairs as if she owned not only the house, but the destiny of everyone around her. The millionaire's daughter, however, did not share in that collective euphoria, and this was nothing new. In recent months, the girl had become a shadow of her former self. She spoke little, cried at night, hid when the bride appeared in the hallways, and clung to the hem of the maid's dress as if her world depended on it. No one understood why, and the bride disguised everything with a sharp smile, always blaming the trauma of losing her mother or the child's difficult temperament. Explanations that to those who didn't know the girl seemed plausible, but to the maid, no. She saw far beyond the surface. She saw the real fear, the constant trembling, the forced silence, the pleading gaze for help. It was a kind of pain no child should have to bear. That's why, that morning, while everyone prepared for the ceremony, the maid had decided not to leave the girl's side for a single second. Something told her that this would be the day everything would crumble. She didn't know how or when, but she felt the truth about to break like an old rope about to snap. Meanwhile, the millionaire paced the mansion with the anxiety of a father trying to balance social obligations with his daughter's well-being. He wanted to believe he was doing the right thing by remarrying, that he wanted to build a stable family, to give his daughter a present female figure, someone who could fill the void left by her mother. But every time he saw the girl huddled up, clinging to the maid, something inside him cracked. Deep down, a silent doubt formed. Was he ignoring signs that should have been glaring? The bride, on the other hand, maintained her impeccable posture. She wouldn't accept being questioned. She didn't tolerate lateness. She didn't like children who cried too much. And above all, she hated the maid, especially because of the strong, almost maternal bond the girl had formed with her. For the bride, this was a direct threat to the control she intended to exert once the marriage was official. And so, whenever she could, she would cast contemptuous glances, utter venomous words, and give humiliating little orders to belittle that simple woman who had unintentionally become the child's only safe haven. Shortly before the ceremony, something happened, something that changed everything. While the millionaire was being called for photos and signatures, the bride found the little girl alone in the side aisle, sitting on the floor with a toy in her hands. No one knows exactly what was said there, but the muffled scream that echoed seconds later wasn't heard by everyone, only because the reception music was too loud. What is known is that the girl ran away, sobbing with a look of pure despair, and threw herself into the maid's arms, as if fleeing from an invisible monster. The maid, seeing her like that, felt her heart clench. The child was trembling so much she could barely breathe. Her words came out broken, almost soundless, as if she feared that the bride herself would appear at any moment to punish her. The maid tried to calm her, but the girl squeezed her arms tightly, begging not to have to go back near the woman who was to be her future stepmother. On the other side of the mansion, the ceremony was about to begin. The guests settled in, cell phones ready to record every detail, and the bride smiled for the cameras as if nothing had happened. But that smile hid something rotten, something the maid knew she needed to expose, even if only by instinct, for protection, for love of the child she cared for as if she were her own daughter. The entrance music began. The reception door opened. Everyone stood. The bride stepped forward, radiant, confident that nothing could stop her from achieving everything she had always wanted: status, wealth, power, and total control over the life of that man and his daughter. She didn't know, however, that the truth was about to sweep through that hall with the force of a hurricane. It was at that exact moment that the maid made the decision that would change everything. She entered the hall holding the girl in her arms, walking with firm, determined steps, filled with a courage that only arises when someone is fighting for someone who cannot fight alone. The guests were paralyzed. The millionaire froze. The bride paled. And before anyone could react, the girl raised her trembling finger and pointed directly at the bride, whispering the phrase that would make the entire ceremony crumble. "I'm afraid of her. She hurts me." The entire room transformed. The silence was so absolute, it seemed as if the world had stopped breathing. The millionaire's gaze shattered in two, like glass struck by a stone. The maid felt the girl clutch her neck, seeking protection. The guests began to murmur in shock, unable to believe what they were witnessing. And the bride, finally exposed, began to recoil, lost between hatred and the panic of having her mask ripped off before everyone. The entire hall seemed to have been plunged into such a profound silence that even the sound of the crystals hanging from the chandeliers seemed to have stopped in mid-air, frozen along with the guest's breath. The millionaire, upon hearing his own daughter speak those words, so small, so fragile, yet laden with a truth that no one else could ignore, felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. For a moment, he was not the powerful heir, the respected businessman, or the groom about to formalize a perfect union in the eyes of society. At that instant, he was just a father, a devastated father. His gaze sought the girl's as if trying to confirm that this couldn't be real, that she was mistaken, that she had misinterpreted. But there was no mistake in those teary eyes. Her fear was real, deep, almost palpable. The maid felt the child shrink even further in her arms, as if she feared someone would try to forcibly take her away. And that was enough for the bride to lose what little control she still seemed to have. She stepped forward, trying to regain her mask of perfection, but the trembling of her hands betrayed her. She tried to smile, but it was a crooked, desperate, almost animalistic smile. He tried to speak, but his voice failed him before it reached the guests. When he finally managed to utter a word, it came out as a hysterical scream disguised as gentleness. "That's ridiculous. She's lying. She's just a spoiled brat." But the phrase echoed through the hall with the weight of an unintentional confession. No one believed her. The way she advanced toward the maid, her wide eyes, her threatening posture, everything about her contradicted her own words. The millionaire, realizing the imminent danger, raised his hand, asking the bride to stay where she was. But she ignored him. She continued walking like someone who, for the first time, saw her castle of lies crumble and was now desperately searching for someone to blame. The maid stepped back slightly, protecting the child with her body, instinctively positioning herself as a maternal shield between the little one and the woman's fury. Some guests, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, began to stand, disguising their discomfort with coughs and nervous whispers. Others, too shocked, simply watched with wide eyes, too afraid to interfere. Then the bride made her biggest mistake. Trying to approach the girl, she stretched out her arm in a brusque attempt to pull her, not carefully, not gently, but angrily. That was enough to break what little patience the millionaire had left. He lunged forward reflexively, gripping the woman's wrist firmly, stopping her in midair. The entire room held its breath. He had never touched her like that before. He had always been respectful, polite, even submissive in certain decisions. But at that moment, it was the father acting. The father who finally saw what was happening under his own roof. The bride tried to break free, shook her wrist and then screamed, "She's doing this to hurt me. That maid has poisoned her mind." The maid heard it as an emotional blow, but she kept her gaze steady. She didn't answer, didn't lower her eyes, didn't apologize. She knew that if she showed weakness, the bride would try to turn the tables. She simply put her arms around the girl's shoulders, stroking her trembling hair, keeping her safe. The millionaire took a deep breath, trying to find coherence in the chaos. His gaze, now heavy, turned to the maid, as if searching for answers he himself had ignored for so long. She, in a low, firm and choked voice, said only what was necessary. "I tried to warn you, but you trusted her so much that I had no way to prove it." The entire room seemed to lean in that direction, as if everyone present had sensed the hidden pain between the lines. The bride, furious, prepared to attack again, but the millionaire interrupted her with a question that cut through the air like a blade. "What did you do to my daughter?" There was no escaping that moment. Her mask finally fell. The woman froze, taking one step back, then another. Her once flawless face was now marked by dark circles under her eyes and expressions of contained fury. The audience began filming discreetly, some out of indignation, others out of the cruel need to record the scandal. And that's when the truth began to surface through the signs that had been there for months. The small bruises the girl had disguised, the irrational fear of climbing stairs alone, the nights she woke up trembling, the broken toys that appeared without explanation, the change in behavior. The child, still holding the maid, finally managed to breathe enough to repeat in a low, broken voice, "She locks me in my room. She pulls my hair. She says my father doesn't love me anymore." The millionaire felt his whole world crumble. The bride, realizing there was no denying it anymore, let out a gasp of despair, shouting senseless accusations, blaming the child, blaming the maid, even blaming the stress of the preparations. But none of that mattered. The truth was there, alive, raw, painful. The room became a sea of indignation. The maid, with tears burning in her eyes, held the girl even more carefully, as if trying to rebuild right there and then all the pieces of childhood that had been ripped away from her. Realizing the situation was about to escalate, the millionaire ordered security to be called, not for the maid, not for the child, but for the bride herself. The woman tried to flee, tried to push her way through the guests, but was restrained before she could reach the door. She screamed, struggled, denied everything, but the onlookers had no doubt about the kind of person she truly was. The millionaire walked towards the maid, his voice choked, broken, destroyed inside. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" he asked, and the answer came laden with truth. "Because I knew you would only believe it when you saw it with your own eyes." The hall, which had once seemed like a luxurious temple ready to celebrate a perfect wedding, now held the weight of a silent court, where every glance pronounced the truth that had taken so long to surface. The bride had been dragged from the ceremony, screaming, carrying with her the collapse of her social mask. But even after her departure, the atmosphere did not ease. It only changed form, becoming a mixture of shock, collective guilt, and a profound sense of injustice finally revealed. The millionaire, standing in the center of the hall, as if in the middle of a devastated field, tried to gather within himself all the pieces of his own conscience that had shattered in that instant. He couldn't take his eyes off his daughter, who was still sobbing, clinging to the maid's neck, as if the presence of that simple woman was the only shield capable of preventing the world from collapsing again on her little head. The music had stopped. The flowers were beginning to wilt under the heat of the lights, and the guests conversed in whispers that seemed to carry judgments, regrets, and even silent apologies for having closed their eyes for so long. When the millionaire finally mustered the strength to approach his daughter, it was as if he were crossing a minefield within his own heart. He knelt before her, not as someone powerful trying to right a wrong, but as a father who had failed in his most basic mission, to protect what he loved most. His teary eyes met the child's red and tired eyes, and in that silent encounter there was more truth than any words could express. He slowly raised his hand, asking permission, and the girl hesitated for a few seconds before allowing him to touch her. It was as if she were assessing whether this man was still safe, whether he was still the father she recognized, whether it was still worth believing in. When he finally leaned down and touched her face, his tears fell like a silent rain, carrying months of guilt, blindness, and deep regret. "Forgive me, daughters, please forgive me." The sentence came out almost silently, a whisper cracked by the pain that pierced his soul. The girl, still fragile, only curled up further in the maid's arms, but allowed him to hold her small hand, a minimal gesture, but enough to rekindle a spark of hope in his heart. The maid felt that moment as if she were a mother, witnessing a reconciliation she herself had longed for months. But she also knew that broken trust cannot be rebuilt overnight. Therefore, she remained there, firm, present, supporting the child with her body and heart. The millionaire then looked up at the maid, and at that instant he felt a mixture of gratitude, pain, and shame that he had never experienced before. "You saved my daughter," she said, her voice trembling, as if recognizing for the first time that a simple act of courage is greater than any fortune life can offer. The maid took a deep breath. She didn't want applause. She didn't want recognition. She only wanted that child to finally be protected. Even so, her words came across honestly. "I only did what anyone would do when they love a child who can't defend themselves." The entire room fell even quieter, as if everyone were absorbing the depth of that simple yet powerful feeling. A few minutes later, security informed the millionaire that the bride had been escorted off the property. Some people began to leave, others approached to offer help, but he wanted nothing more than to resolve the situation properly. He immediately called a trusted doctor, contacted lawyers, asked for the entire reception to be cancelled, and for the first time since the girl's mother's death, chose to prioritize what truly mattered: his daughter's safety. He took the child to her room, accompanied by the maid, and there they could finally breathe without the weight of the stares and tension that had dominated the hall minutes before. The doctor confirmed small bruises, signs of intense stress, and symptoms of childhood anxiety caused by prolonged fear. With the diagnosis came the confirmation the millionaire had already feared. The child didn't lie, never had lied. He simply chose not to see it. While the doctor tended to the girl, the millionaire walked away to the hallway and leaned against the wall, running his hands over his face as if trying to erase months of emotional blindness. The maid approached slowly, respecting his space, but knowing that this man needed to hear something before he sank into his own guilt. "She's going to need you, really need you now. Not as a perfect father, but as a present father." He raised his eyes, still brimming with tears, and found in her not judgment but understanding. "I know I failed, and I don't know where to begin." Her response came with the same gentle firmness that had always guided her actions. "Start by asking for forgiveness and standing by her side every day." Later, the girl fell asleep in the maid's arms, something the millionaire observed with a mixture of gratitude and pain. The image of the child seeking comfort from that simple woman spoke volumes about who had truly been there, And it was there in that silent scene that a decision was born within him. That maid was not just an employee. She was the person who had protected his daughter, who had seen what he had ignored, who carried strength where others carried indifference. He could not, nor did he want to, push her away. When the girl awoke, calmer, the millionaire knelt again, but this time not in despair, but with firmness. "From today on, nothing will hurt you, I promise." The child, still shy, rested her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in months, allowed herself to trust him. In the following days, the truth spread throughout the city. The bride faced the legal consequences, and the mansion finally became a safer, lighter place. The maid was promoted to housekeeper, not for status, but because the millionaire wanted to ensure that the person who truly cared for his daughter had authority and respect. And so, the wedding that should have been the most brilliant day of the millionaire's life became, in fact, the day he was reborn as a father. And the day the little girl, finally protected, found in the maid's lap the home she had lost. And if this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you love. Click now to share it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming stories we're preparing with great care for you.